Indiana Senator Todd Young wants to see the Trump administration clarify its strategy on tariffs. News 8 reached out on the heels of this week's large stock market sell-off following President Trump's announcement of sweeping new tariffs. Senator Young said he agrees America needs to push back against other countries' trade activity, but said in a statement, while tariffs can be a useful tool, they also carry downside risk if applied without a clear strategy, especially for Hoosier farmers and manufacturers who need certainty. I've consistently emphasized the need for greater clarity. Senator Young said he wants to see a legislative strategy complement the new tariffs. Tonight on Air Force One, President Donald Trump said despite the market's reaction, he's not changing course.
When you look at the trade deficit that we have with certain countries, way over $1 billion per country. But with China, it's $1 trillion. And we have to solve our trade deficit with China. We have $1 trillion trade deficit with China. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year we lose with China. And unless we solve that problem, I'm not going to make a deal.
The president claims the new tariffs are already creating significant revenue for the U.S. The tariffs are also already affecting jobs here in Indiana, with Stellantis now saying it will lay off some workers at its Kokomo plant, while GM says it will increase production at its Fort Wayne facility. Indiana's best political team debated the impact so far and in the future for this morning's episode of All Indiana Politics.
As we know, this is going to take some time, right? Like, this is not an overnight solution. And I want to be clear about something. No big change that government ever is going to implement will be effective overnight. There are always going to be growing pains with stuff like this, but we need big transformational policy shifts, and that's what the American people voted for with President Trump. And he is keeping his word to the American people to bring things back home to America. Eventually, in the long run, this is going to create American jobs. It is going to bring things back onshore to the U.S., but it's not going to happen overnight. I think that we're going to see things like you just described. We're going to see fluctuations, good on some, bad on the other, but it's going to be transformational over the long term.
Dana, I'll let you weigh in on that as well, but and I guess I could probably figure out what you're going to say, but do you also think there does need to be some change when it comes to manufacturing?
Yes, I think there needs to be some change.
Yeah.
However, I know that there's this hope and optimism about these tariffs not being that bad, but we have history on our side. We have seen historically what happens to the United States when we implement these huge tariffs. And each time that we have implemented huge tariffs in the United States, our economy tanked. It's not like you can't find this information. We know that this current administration doesn't care about history. It doesn't care about precedent. It doesn't care about a lot of things. All you have to do is go study it, and you can see what actually happens when you implement these tariffs. And I think the Mexican president speaks very well to this. And she's like, just like you want to bully us, there are other manufacturers. When those recessions happen, when those tariffs happen in history, there were less options in the world. There are now way more options for people to choose from. So if you look at the history of how our economy has suffered under huge tariffs, and the fact that there are other places that people can go to get the exact same goods and services, I really feel like it is going to hurt us in the long run.
You can watch more in-depth conversations like this on All Indiana Politics at 9:30 every Sunday morning right here on Wish TV.